Have you ever paused to listen to the voice inside your head? That constant companion who whispers judgments, fears, and occasionally words of courage. It moves with you through crowded streets and sits beside you in moments of solitude. This voice, your self-talk, is the invisible architect designing the blueprint of your existence. It sketches the boundaries of what you believe possible. It colors your perceptions with shades of limitation or possibility. And most profoundly, it sculpts your very biology, rewiring neural pathways with each word it speaks. Yet how many of us have truly learned to master this voice rather than be mastered by it? If you find this exploration valuable, consider subscribing to join our community of seekers and practitioners on this journey of self-mastery. The conversation you have with yourself is not merely background noise, it is the single most influential factor shaping your reality. Think about it. Before any action you take, before any decision you make, there is first a thought, a voice. It may say, "This is too difficult for someone like me," or "I am capable of finding a solution here." Both statements create entirely different trajectories for what follows. When you wake each morning, this voice is already speaking. It interprets the quality of your sleep, assesses your energy, and forecasts your day, all before your feet touch the floor. Another exhausting day ahead. It might sigh, and suddenly your body responds, shoulders tensing, breath shortening, stress hormones beginning their slow release into your bloodstream. Or it might say, "Today holds new possibilities," and you feel a subtle shift. Your posture straightens, your breathing deepens, your biochemistry aligns with this expectation of good. The fascinating truth is that your brain cannot distinguish between what is happening in physical reality and what you are vividly imagining. This is not mystical thinking, it is neuroscience. When you repeatedly engage in negative self-talk, telling yourself you are inadequate or that life is overwhelming, your brain processes these statements as legitimate threats. It responds by releasing cortisol and adrenaline, preparing you physiologically for danger. Your muscles tense, your digestive system slows, your immune function diminishes. Over time, these patterns become your baseline, etched into your biology. The executive who constantly rehearses worst-case scenarios in her mind creates the same stress response as if those disasters were actually unfolding. The student who repeatedly tells himself, "I'm terrible at mathematics," strengthens neural connections that make mathematics more difficult. The relationship between your thoughts and your physical experience is not philosophical. It is tangible, measurable. Consider this. Researchers have found that self-talk directly influences gene expression. The words you use can activate or deactivate certain genes, altering how your cells function at the most fundamental level. When you shift from "I am overwhelmed" to "I am handling my challenges with growing capability," you are not just changing a thought, you are changing your biology. Most people, however, remain unaware of this internal dialogue. Studies suggest that approximately 90% of your thoughts today will be the same thoughts you had yesterday. This mental autopilot keeps you locked in familiar emotional territories and behavioral patterns. You repeat the same limiting beliefs about your capabilities, the same judgments about others, the same interpretations of events, and then you wonder why your life seems resistant to change. Have you ever truly listened to yourself? Have you documented the recurring themes in your inner narrative? If you were to transcribe your self-talk for a single day, what patterns would emerge? What identity have you been unconsciously reinforcing? These are not casual questions. They are the gateway to transformation. True change begins with disrupting this mental autopilot. It requires becoming conscious of the voice that has operated largely without supervision. It demands that you develop what Master Shi Heng might call clear seeing, the ability to witness your thoughts rather than being completely identified with them. When you can observe the voice saying, "I always fail at relationships," you create space to question this assumption rather than accepting it as truth. But be gentle in this observation. Notice without judgment. The goal is not to create another layer of criticism. "Now I'm thinking badly about thinking badly." Instead, bring curiosity to this discovery process. Where did these thought patterns originate? What purpose might they have served? How have they been trying to protect you even as they limit you? This is the beginning of transformation. Not forcing change through willpower alone, but understanding the architecture of your current thinking before attempting to rebuild. Once you've developed awareness of your self-talk patterns, you can begin the practice of intentional transformation. But understand this, effective self-talk is not just about replacing negative words with positive ones. It is about creating emotionally charged, consistent messages that your nervous system can recognize as significant enough to respond to. Think of your current self-talk as a river that has carved deep channels through the landscape of your mind. These channels weren't formed overnight. They developed through repetition, emotion, and time. Similarly, new channels cannot be created through casual, emotionless affirmations, whispered once or twice before abandoning the practice. Consider the high-performing executive who found herself spiraling toward burnout. Each morning brought increasing dread, her self-talk dominated by themes of inadequacy, despite her objective success. "I'm falling behind," her inner voice would insist as she scanned her inbox. "Everyone can see I'm barely keeping up," it would whisper during meetings. These thoughts triggered physiological stress responses that further reinforced her experience of overwhelm. Her transformation began with a simple but powerful ritual inspired by Master Shi Heng's teachings on self-mastery. Each morning, she would place her hand on her heart, bringing physical connection to the practice. She would then speak aloud, "I move through challenges with steady calm. My worth is not measured by my task list. I have built the capacity to handle whatever this day brings." As she spoke these words, she would visualize herself moving through her day with composed strength, seeing specific scenarios that typically triggered anxiety. The first day, her mind rebelled. "This feels foolish," the old voice interrupted. "Who are you trying to fool?" This resistance is normal. It is the old neural pathways fighting to maintain their dominance. The second day brought similar resistance, but with less intensity. By the third day, something subtle had shifted. She noticed herself pausing before reacting to an urgent email. Her breathing remained steady during a challenging conversation. A sense of spaciousness had entered her experience. This practice became her foundation for lasting change. Not because the words were magical, but because they were delivered with three essential elements: physical engagement, the hand on heart, the spoken voice rather than just thoughts; emotional resonance, visualizing with feeling rather than mechanical repetition; and consistency, returning to the practice even when resistance arose. Master Shi Heng emphasizes that knowledge without practice remains merely theoretical. In his TED Talk, he shares that despite his extensive academic qualifications, 2 university degrees and an MBA, he felt something was missing. He found that the monastic practices, combining mental training with physical discipline, created transformation that academic knowledge alone could not provide. If you only have theory without the practice, he explains, then it's just book knowledge. This integration of physical experience with mental focus is central to effective self-talk. When you engage your body in the process, whether through speaking aloud, adopting specific postures, or using physical anchors like the hand on heart, you create a more complete circuit of change. The executive's practice worked because it wasn't just occurring in her mind, it was engaging her entire system. Consider how you might bring this integration to your own practice. Perhaps you speak your new self-talk while walking, allowing the rhythm of your steps to reinforce the rhythm of your words. Maybe you write your new narrative each morning, the physical act of writing creating another pathway for embodiment. Or you might create a simple gesture that anchors a particular state you wish to cultivate, touching thumb to forefinger, while thinking, "I am centered in this moment." The resistance you feel when shifting your inner dialogue is not failure. It is proof of transformation in progress. The discomfort, the skepticism, the urge to abandon the practice, these are all signs that you are disrupting patterns deeply embedded in your neural architecture. Master Shi Heng refers to these challenges as the 5 hindrances that prevent clarity. Sensual desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness, and skeptical doubt. Each of these may arise as you work to change your self-talk patterns. Recognizing them as natural parts of the process, rather than insurmountable obstacles, is key to moving through them. Remember that you are not just changing thoughts, you are changing your identity, your relationship with reality itself. This is profound work that naturally encounters resistance. Honor this resistance as a sign of your courage to transform. Your self-talk shapes more than your personal experience. It ripples outward, affecting how you interact with others and what you contribute to the world. When your inner dialogue is dominated by fear, judgment, and limitation, these qualities color your relationships, your work, your entire presence. Conversely, when you cultivate strength, compassion, and possibility in your self-talk, these qualities become your offering to the world around you. Master Shi Heng speaks to this ripple effect when he says, "Whatever you want to bring in, first of all, show it. First of all, you be the representative of what you think is missing there." This begins with your relationship with yourself. The words you speak internally setting the foundation for what you express externally. Consider how your current self-talk influences your presence with others. Do you internally rehearse all the ways a conversation might go wrong before it happens? Do you silently criticize yourself during interactions, creating tension that others can sense even if they don't understand its source? These internal dialogues create subtle but powerful shifts in your facial expressions, your tone of voice, your body language, all of which affect how others respond to you. The parent who silently berates themselves for inadequacy projects this insecurity onto their relationship with their child, creating anxiety where there could be connection. The team leader whose self-talk revolves around scarcity and competition creates a work culture marked by mistrust rather than collaboration. Your inner voice becomes, in subtle ways, the outer experience of those around you. This understanding places profound responsibility in your hands. Your self-talk is not private in its effects. It shapes the world you create around you. This is why Master Shi Heng emphasizes care as a fundamental starting point. You need to know what is care, he explains, because if you don't care, you don't spend time with it. If you don't care, you don't have interest in your life. Caring enough to monitor and adjust your self-talk becomes an act of service not just to yourself, but to everyone your life touches. It becomes a practice of integrity, aligning your inner world with the outer world you wish to create. This practice requires discipline, especially in challenging times. When facing difficulty, your habitual self-talk patterns will resurge with intensity. The Shaolin approach, as Master Shi Heng describes it, is not to run from this suffering, but to move through it with strength. We are overcoming the suffering, he explains. We are not running away from the suffering. You go through it until you have become so strong. Your body becomes so strong. Your mind has become so strong that it doesn't matter afterwards anymore. Applied to self-talk, this means continuing your practice of conscious internal dialogue, even when, especially when, circumstances trigger your old patterns. When financial pressure mounts, when relationships strain, when health challenges arise, these are precisely the moments when your practice must deepen rather than be abandoned. A powerful technique in these challenging times is to adopt what might be called a witness perspective to your thoughts. When anxiety rises and your self-talk becomes frantic, create mental distance by noting, "I am experiencing worried thoughts," rather than becoming fully identified with them. This simple shift creates space for choice rather than automatic reaction. Remember too that transforming your self-talk is not about achieving perpetual positive thinking. It is about developing flexibility in your internal dialogue, the ability to speak to yourself with wisdom appropriate to each situation. Sometimes self-compassion is needed, other times gentle challenge, other times still fierce determination. The master of self-talk knows which voice serves in each moment. This mastery emerges from practice, not perfection. You will have days when old patterns dominate despite your best intentions. The difference is that now you recognize them as patterns rather than truth. You can say, here is my familiar voice of inadequacy arising again, rather than simply believing its conclusions. This recognition itself is transformation. As your self-talk shifts, you may notice something surprising. Others respond to you differently. Conversations flow with greater ease. Opportunities appear that previously seemed closed. This is not magical thinking. It is the natural consequence of bringing a different energy, a different presence into your interactions. When your internal landscape shifts from conflict to clarity, your external landscape responds accordingly. Now, I invite you to turn inward with these questions. If you were to pause right now and listen to your inner voice, what would you hear? Is it speaking words of judgment or acceptance, of limitation or possibility, of past regrets or present engagement? What recurring phrases have become the background music of your consciousness? Are they serving your growth or constraining your potential? How might you begin to shift this conversation today? What new words could you speak to yourself with enough emotion, enough physical engagement, enough consistency to create real change? When you feel resistance to this new self-talk, how will you navigate that discomfort? What support structures will help you maintain your practice when the old patterns fight to reassert themselves? What ripple effects might emerge in your relationships, your work, your health as you transform this most intimate conversation, the one you have with yourself? The transformation of your self-talk is not a simple practice. It is a profound journey of self-mastery. It requires your full engagement, mind, body, and spirit working in concert to create new neural pathways, new emotional responses, new possibilities. As Master Shi Heng reminds us, theory without practice remains merely information. The power lies in your commitment to daily integration of these principles. Begin simply. Choose one aspect of your self-talk to transform. Perhaps it's how you speak to yourself when facing challenges, or how you interpret setbacks, or how you acknowledge your own needs. Start with conscious awareness, then introduce new language that resonates emotionally. Engage physically with this practice. Speak aloud, write, move your body as you internalize these new patterns. Return to this practice consistently, especially when resistance arises. Remember that you are not just changing thoughts, you are changing your relationship with reality itself. This is sacred work that deserves your patience, your persistence, your care. The voice that has shaped your past need not determine your future. You can become the conscious architect of your inner dialogue and through it, the creator of new possibilities in your life and in our world. If you found value in this exploration, please share it with others who might benefit. Subscribe to join our community as we continue this journey of self-mastery together. Your transformation ripples outward, affecting all you touch. See you next time. Keep your eyes open, your mind curious, and your spirit evolving.